Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of the first two opening episodes of Titans Season 4. Now there will be spoilers throughout, so just beware when going into this overall video. And you can check out my reviews of the previous 3 seasons of the show, and I'll leave some links within the description. Now quickly then, just to recap over the events of Season 3. In the finale, the Titans teamed up together to defeat Jonathan Crane's plan of setting explosives to cause chaos within the city. Jason makes amends with Bruce before leaving after all of his antics as the Red Hood. Blackfire returns to her home planet. Donna leaves to join the Team Argus. And the Titans leave Gotham to return to San Francisco. Now Season 4 starts off where we see the Titans consisting this time of Dick Grayson, Starfire, Connor, Beast Boy, Raven and Tim all settling down in some sort of peaceful harmony. The story shifts to Metropolis, seeing the emergence of Lex Luthor Jr., who wants to connect with Connor, who of course is a clone of both Superman and his own DNA. Rightly so, the Titans are very wary and skeptical of Lex's intentions, so they start carrying out investigations within activities of LexCorp. They soon discover that Lex is dying from overexposure to kryptonite, but despite all of this, Connor still goes on to meet Lex, wanting to find out exactly why he was created. Lex later on warns Connor of other partners that he had aligned himself with in order to find a cure to his condition, and that they have several darker intentions. And then we get a truly gruesome scene where we see Lex vomiting out a snake amidst lots of blood. We saw earlier scenes where other people were suffering of the same condition, and this is very much the signalling of the intent of what we presume to be the main antagonist throughout the season, and that is the Brother Blood and the cult. We had seen this earlier on with the female character who later on becomes Mother Mayhem, and we learned that initially that she was working alongside Lex, but Lex had disowned her, and this is her getting her very much revenge back on him. We later on discovered that Lex dies from this vomiting episode, and that Connor is arrested and blamed for his death. Later on, Starfire discovers that many of people from LexCorp's organisations had also died choking on their own blood. The Titans investigate this case further, and we get a lot more of supernatural and horror elements where we see Raven exploring the causes of the deaths, and we see these sequences of her having certain visions as she tries to predict what's happened. We get more into the main antagonist, Brother Blood, known as Mr. Sanger, and we see scenes where he's presenting ideas for a video game, but his concepts are rejected by the board, and we see him having visions of extracting their blood, and this is again building to him eventually joining forces with Mother Mayhem and the cult. We have another intense scene where we see the Titans discovering other victims of the Brother Blood cult, and they find out who the real murderer is, and Connor is freed. They see that a scientist named Arthur Homewood had far more secret initiatives rather than finding a cure for Lex. And then they come across Mother Mayhem in the street in really what was a more of a random fight sequence where we see her all dressed out in this typical sorcerer costume design. We see her with this big staff and she's wielding it around, and she's defeating Connor and Raven very easily. And it wasn't very well staged, to be honest with you. Some of the effects were a bit hokey. And this is really just to establish all of the big threat and stakes that we will see play out, assumingly throughout the rest of this season. And then we ended the episode with Mother Mayhem building up all of her cult followers, and we see Mr. Sanger feeling the effects, and he will clearly go on to be a major force throughout the rest of the season. So in terms of the first 2 opening episodes, I think overall it was a decent start. I think it's good in a way that we're taking a different tone into the more horror and supernatural elements. How far and how dark they will go with this direction remains to be seen, and will they maintain it throughout the rest of the series? We'll find out. It's also somewhat of a relief that with Brother Blood and Mother Mayhem as the villains, that we won't be tapping into the Batman universe. I've said that this is one of the biggest issues about the entire show, is that many times it feels far more like a Batman show rather than a Teen Titans show. So I just hope that they can utilise the villains here far more than what we saw in last season with Jonathan Crane. Hopefully they're far more developed and don't just become one note or one dimensional. Now admittedly, just using Lex Luthor for 1 episode was a bit of a waste. It did seem that they were setting up some sort of strong dynamic with him and Connor. That father and son relationship could have had some sort of substance to it, but it was just really thrown away. Will we see some sort of resurrection of the character later on? I'm not really sure. Again, I'm not sure how limited they were in terms of being able to use Lex Luthor, but it just seemed throwaway, and they could have used any character to establish this dynamic and the emergence of the Brother Blood cult. I'm also not convinced yet of what exactly Tim's role is in terms of the team. It does seem that they are going to show some sort of arc involving him training and learning to fight, which can be good, that can build the character, but again, he doesn't really seem essential enough to the team dynamic at this current stage. And I do hope that we do build far more of a team dynamic this season. Hopefully it doesn't just dissolve into Dick Grayson just walking off on his own, having these standalone adventures as what we've seen with the previous 3 seasons. And the biggest challenge for this season, just like the previous, is can they sustain the quality right throughout the entire run of episodes? We look at last year, and it certainly had a good start, adapting the Red Hood story arc, and certainly for the first 3 to 4 episodes, although being a bit rushed, it was certainly far more compelling and interesting. And then as the season went on, it just really deteriorated, and it was really more the writing rather than the actors or the effects or the production. What really failed this show is that you had certain narratives and story arcs that didn't really make any sense, and they were very undeveloped. You would have characters doing certain things that had no real rhyme or reason or consistency. So if Titans Season 4 is going to be a major improvement, that's what it's got to work on. It's got to work on building a solid, consistent and compelling storyline all the way through this entire season. And of course, when we look at the show itself, we have to ponder its overall future. We all know what's going on in terms of DC content within Warner Brothers, the initiative set by David Zaslav in seemingly eliminating all scripted TV. We've seen this with all of the Arrowverse shows being cancelled. Stargirl recently was an addition to that list. So it only seems a matter of time, it seems, before we see eventually both the likes of Titans and Doom Patrol being cancelled as well. And from what I can gather, it seems to provide good numbers for HBO Max. And we all know from Zaslav's initiatives that it doesn't really matter how successful a show is in terms of its viewership. He is all about cutting costs and trying to turn it into a profit. So regardless of how good or bad Titans Season 4 is, I would be majorly surprised if it does get a Season 5. But we will wait and see. You never know, stranger things have happened going forward. But so far, regarding these 2 episodes, a decent start, some interesting elements in terms of a different type of villain and antagonist, much more reining in terms of the Batman connections, which is good, and hopefully we can build far more on a team dynamic for the show going forward for the rest of the season. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and review of Titans Season 4, the first 2 opening episodes. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you still invested in this series, or did he drop off after Season 3? Do you think there's any potential for them to make such a big improvement that it could possibly get extended for a 5th season? Or do you think this 4th season will be the last, regardless of the quality, following the cancellation of the other DC shows? Let me know what you think in the comments, and of course, when we come to the end of the season, I will provide both season finale and season overall reviews of the show, so look out for those within the channel. And if you have any other suggestions or topics or any other movies or television shows or issues within the entertainment industry that you'd like to see me cover, then also let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on those subjects in the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.